Alright guys, so finally temperatures in Florida are reaching the 80s while it's freezing up north, so a lot of people are coming back down, which means we had our first real slice of the tourist season. Yes, the good vibes that we like are finally back. So Friday night in downtown Sarasota was pretty packed. The Uber passengers were consistent, and a lot of them were tourist people coming down from the airport. So I can say it was actually a pretty fun night. I haven't had a night this fun Uber driving in a while, which means the tourists are starting to come back down, and we're starting to get a lot more of a fun vibe back in Sarasota. Now, there's still a long way to go along the beaches, but downtown's good to go. Temperature here almost reaching the 80s right now, while it's like in the negatives up north. It means that a lot of people are going to get on an airplane and come down to Florida. And boy, have we been anticipating this, the people that depend on tourism in Florida. So as of February 1st, I can say that finally people are starting to come back down. Warm temperatures combined with cold temperatures up north is probably the recipe to convince people that it's time to head on down to Florida. If you're thinking about Sarasota, there are some beaches open. Manatee Beach is open, Coquina Beach is open, and a few others. There is red tide down towards Fort Myers right now, so this may be an opportunity for you to explore the Sarasota area. I'm starting to see a lot of international people as well, but a lot of them are people that live in the United States that are from other countries that are traveling to Florida. For example, today I got to meet somebody from Iceland. I told them that I was Cuban. They told me that the population of Iceland is 360,000 people. So I made a joke saying that there's more Cubans in Europe than there are people from Iceland, and we had a great laugh. So there are starting to be a lot of people coming to the area, a lot of weddings in town. Now this is a huge money maker. These weddings will buy out entire hotels, maybe the Ritz-Carlton or the Westin or any of these other high-end hotels along the coast get filled up for these wedding events. These people go out and party, spend a lot of money, and tip very well. These wedding events are my favorite because it is the most fun people you're ever going to have. So, as you guys are aware, I Uber drive in the evenings for some extra cash. And I like to look for the most fun times to drive Uber. I don't like to do like regular commuters. So right now with all these weddings in town, this is the type of stuff that I love. People that tip really well, they're on vacation, they're in a good mood. So today, like I told you guys, I had the lady from Iceland. I had like 2 or 3 people from New York. In fact, I even picked somebody up at the airport coming down from New York. I can legitimately say that today was a fun night in Sarasota. And while it's probably nothing like what Sarasota was before the hurricanes, it's at least a slice and taste of the Sarasota nightlife that I enjoy. And of course, with Uber driving, I love when there are large events, people coming for weddings. These are the best. So I had a great time Uber driving tonight. I think I made $126, but I believe there's going to be more tips mounting up throughout the night as people remember later on to tip me. Most of the night we're going between the fancy Ritz-Carlton hotels and restaurants like this, all high-end clientele. These people are usually going to go for very short rides and pay very well. Interestingly enough, not only did I drop somebody off at this restaurant here, I also picked up my next passenger here as well. Now, I had one person tonight who is of, I don't know, maybe an Asian background who told me that they came to Sarasota for some reason and then they're here. And this person told me that when they order Ubers, a lot of times the Uber drivers will come, look at them, see that they're Asian, and then drive off. Now, I've heard that happen a lot to black people, but I've never heard it happening to Asians. But apparently a lot of Uber drivers here in Sarasota are not picking up Asians. So this is a real thing that happens to a lot of people, and it's not really made up. And I didn't ask him about it. He was the one who told me that he's been going through this experience where a lot of Uber drivers won't pick him up because he's Asian. So apparently that's a thing out here. I've definitely heard it with black people quite a bit. Me personally, I don't really mind Asian passengers. I've had Malaysians. I've had people from islands in the Pacific that you've never even heard of. Recently had some people from Bali, so I've done really well with Asian people. They can definitely make for some interesting conversation about the places they're from, so not a problem that I've personally had, but Somebody did tell me that. For the most part, I worked a lot of high dollar areas. This guy figured out how to make enough money to buy a Range Rover, but then he couldn't figure out how to drive it. He just stopped right there, which means I couldn't get in. Not sure why he didn't think we would both make it through there, because there was plenty of space. But places like this, really fancy hotels and stuff like that, that was what most of the night was like. And these areas, like I said, have the propensity for the tip being larger than the bill itself. Take a look at some of the cars that are parked out here. This should just give you an idea type of money we're talking about. When you're going to hotels that are brand new and expensive restaurants back to back, you're guaranteed to have a pretty good night on Uber. So like I said, I'm excited. I couldn't be happier that we got a little slice of this time of the year where the money is moving, where the people are coming down. But while the people who are coming down are all in a good mood, I will tell you there are some crazy things happening tonight. I saw several people blow red lights. I saw several car accidents. For some reason, people are car racing tonight like I've never seen before, particularly motorcycles. Lots of people racing cars. Not sure what that's about. I'm not sure exactly what these people are thinking racing motorcycles and cars through Sarasota. It's an extraordinarily well-patrolled city, and a lot of them were getting pulled over. I had a passenger in the car, this Haitian lady. She was going from South Sarasota back to Bradenton. Looks like she was just a regular working commuter. She did not speak any English or Spanish, but I got a few words in Creole. I was at least able to say a few nice words to her in Creole. And while I was taking her home, 3 cars sped past me, and these 3 cars, one of them got pulled over. It was pretty scary. They wrapped around me. Some of them went to the left, some of them went to the right, and it was pretty scary actually, because they were probably going 80, 90 miles an hour down, I think it was Fruitville or Bee Ridge, a road that's like a 45 mile per hour road. Sure enough, it wasn't a half a mile down the road they were getting pulled over. At least one of them got pulled over for car racing. And besides that, it wasn't the only incident. I saw several people blowing red lights, accidents. So, like again, I don't know where these people are coming from or what gives them the idea that this is a good place to drive fast. Because again, Sarasota is an extraordinarily well-patrolled city. But it was actually a pretty reckless night out there. And I don't know if these were local people or from somewhere else, but they were definitely acting a fool out there. I've never really seen these idiots racing motorcycles in Sarasota, but that seemed to be the theme of tonight. Is people racing motorcycles. What a bunch of idiots. With as many people that are out drinking on a Friday night, you'd have to be crazy to get on a motorcycle out here. Watch the light turn red. I come to a stop. Their light's obviously red. Guy flies by on a motorcycle. Super freaking risky. That's the type of stuff you see out there all night long. If you look to the right, you can see a police car there. He's got a motorcycle detained, one of the ones that were racing all night long up and down Fruitville. When we get to the next stoplight, you'll see 3 motorcycles at the red light. So I don't know where these idiots came from, because I've never seen this in Sarasota, and I'm out every night just about. But this is the new wave of stupidity in Sarasota, people racing motorcycles. And it's a matter of time before one of these idiots gets hurt. I hope the Sarasota Police Department cracks down on these idiots immediately before they hurt themselves more than anybody else. This is kind of a wave that happens in Florida. You just get all these young kids all of a sudden think it's cool to be on motorcycles. They have no idea what the crap they're doing. A lot of times they get hurt. So you can see right here, 3 motorcycles pulling up. There's also a lot of kids on electrical bicycles, electrical motorcycles. They drive on the road with no lights, and they ride wheelies down the road. So this is becoming a huge thing now. I don't know what video game or movie or where they're getting this stupid idea of riding motorcycles in Florida. I got a big giant truck just because there's so many stupid drivers here that I figure at least in a big truck I'm safer than in a car. And these idiots get on motorcycles. Growing up, I know my fair share of people that ended up getting hurt on motorcycles. So probably one of the dumbest things you can do in a city like this, where you got other idiots just like yourself out there. So hopefully the Sarasota Police Department puts an absolute abrupt end to these idiots racing motorcycles to the city, because it's only a matter of time. I guarantee it. So as you guys know, Uber policy has this thing where they don't like you to talk about politics with the passengers. I think the passengers and the drivers get this little notice that things you should probably not talk about. One of those things is politics. Do you think you can deter people from talking about politics right now? Probably not. So I kid you not, you already know what this guy was talking about and who he was praising. and start talking to them. I'm like, you sound like you're from somewhere else. She's like, oh, I'm from here. I'm like, well, you're not from here. You don't sound like you're from here. Your name doesn't sound like you're from here, so you're not from here. Where are you from? And she's like, oh, some European country. Oh, okay, cool, European country. How'd you get here? Oh, I overstayed my visa. I'm like, so wait, you guys are, you're overstaying your visa, but you're against people just like yourself? Scratch my head. And I am almost certain that those people are going to leave me 0 tip because I just had to mention the obvious elephant in the room. How the crap can you be against immigration when you overstayed your visa? That's interesting. But anyways, it seems like that's a topic that I'm going to have to work on just really diverting people off of, because you get these people and they're like, yeah, man, things are going to be great now. I'm like, you're going to send everybody home. And I'm like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from here. I'm like, you're from here and your name is Sergey? I'm like, oh, I'm not really from. Like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Russia. I'm like, well, Russia's not really here, is it, Sergey? Yeah. Anyways, it's gonna be require some patience to deal with people this year, but those are gonna be no tipping customers because I don't have the patience to deal with them. Anyways, like I said, Sarasota is very well patrolled at night, and I don't really understand how as many dumb drivers that are out there. I will say I feel vindicated though, because every time I see somebody driving stupid in Sarasota, it doesn't take long for them to get pulled over. So if you're thinking about drinking and driving, this probably isn't the city to do it. It's very well patrolled. I don't really know how these people think they're going to get away with this. And it's actually a huge money-making thing for the area where, if you drink and drive, good. We can make some pretty good money off you. When you find out how much it costs to drink and drive in this area, you'll figure out it's cheaper to get an Uber, because it's all about money if you didn't realize that. So you want to go ahead and do that and get caught and be an idiot and drive like an idiot in Sarasota, it's going to cost you. You wouldn't believe how many Uber passengers I get who warned me not to drink and drive because they did it and they had no idea the consequences were so harsh. I got a few rides out of the airport, and you guys know for our YouTube channel we've been to like 36, 37 states, something like that. And I've been everywhere, man. So since I've been everywhere, when I pick up people from the airport, I know the cities they're flying in from. I know a lot of the city's culture areas, and it makes for some really great conversations. And I have to admit, it's so nice now when I'm from Boston, I'm from New York, I'm from here, I'm from Iowa, here, from there, and whatever. Just be like, yo, I've been there, I've done that, da, da, da. I haven't been to Iowa, but you get the idea. It's just nice that when you talk to people, you know where they're from, you know their cities, their cultures, and it makes for better communication with people, and you sound more educated, more well-traveled, well-versed. And I do think it relates to better tips because it's a relatable conversation. So I picked up these people at the airport. Now they're going clear across Sarasota. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a mistake to take a very long ride on a night like this. Nights like this, you're better off just taking the short rides, from hotel to hotel, bar to bar. And those types of people tip better. You'll get a better, I was hoping. These people did tip me. Let's take a look. I put it in my pocket. It's a $5 bill. Okay, not bad. That's something's better than nothing, I guess. Something tells me I could have made about 3 times that if I had just stuck to driving people short distances in downtown. They were going from the airport to South Sarasota. That's quite a big ride. It's a long distance ride, but there was a $5 surcharge at the airport, so that kind of made up for the difference. So somebody told me that in downtown Sarasota, there's a place called the Westin. It's kind of a hotel, but there's a bar up top. Anyways, they told me it was on the pricey end of things, but on the top floor, there's supposed to be this like magnificent 360 view of the Sarasota area. So if you're coming to Sarasota and you want to get a nice view, that Westin on the top floor has that very expensive bar. It's not cheap, but it offers a good view of the city. So that's something to know there, a little locals detail. People are always asking me for recommendations for restaurants and things to do in the Sarasota area. I actually don't advise people to do the little touristy stuff they usually want to do, but a lot of that stuff is actually gone because it's on the water. Water destroyed a lot of stuff, the hurricane. So a lot of those little bars and restaurants that were right on the water, little touristy spots people like, destroyed. So you're going to have to be a little bit more further inland, kind of not as touristy of a spot as you would think or want down in Florida. So if you're coming to Sarasota, just know that there's still a lot of destruction along the coast. The tourists like to hang out on Siesta Key and the locals in downtown Sarasota, so the vibes are kind of different. there's a lot of great stuff to do in this area. Warm weather. So if you're thinking about coming down to Florida, Sarasota is still an option. Not all the beaches are closed. Some of them are. It never ceases to amaze me how Uber passengers assume that somebody driving them on Uber can afford to eat at some of these places. Like, oh yes, like yeah, I'm eating at a steakhouse. Like, which one of these downtown steakhouses do you like the most? I'm like, excuse me. Like, I had Burger King. I'm Uber driving at night. What makes you think I? It's just interesting how like they'll ask an Uber driver. Like, you realize I'm getting like $10 an hour here to drive you back and forth, right? So it's just hilarious how people just assume that as an Uber driver, you're up to date on the best Japanese steakhouses. Like, no, dude, I had Burger King on the way here. And then this one's hilarious, and it's not malintentioned, so don't get offended if you're from New York. But then you got the New Yorkers that ask you, "Well, what's a good New York pizza around here?" I'm like, "Well, exactly where you came from. Get back on that plane before it leaves, Vinny." Like, no, you didn't come here to eat New York pizza. Like, expand your horizons a little, buddy. It's like hilarious every time I get a New Yorker. They're like, "So what's the best New York pizza around here?" I'm like, "On that plane you just got off of, you know?" Yeah, buddy, that's not what we're known for here. It's not what we do here. Expand your horizons, try something different, you know? Don't come here and just expect exactly what you had back in New York, because it's not New York. It's definitely not New York, so don't treat it like it's New York. Try something different, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's always hilarious trying to relate to tourists, trying to relate to their Uber driver. Like if their Uber driver knew which steakhouse has the best Japanese steaks. Like, no, I don't. Drive Uber. I know McDonald's is. I know a really bad, unhealthy barbecue place. Couple chicken places. Stuff like that. Couple Mexican restaurants. Couple food trucks in neighborhoods you probably don't want to go to if you're a tourist. So, yeah, not exactly the best. It's like everybody assumes because you're an Uber driver that you're like a complete expert on touristy things to do. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a complete expert on what places you go to. And then that's about it. Like, I'm an expert on knowing where people like you might go. How's that?